As some of you may recall, 2 years ago I did a video of my favorite movies between 2003 and 2010. I did that for my 18th, and I don't know if I specified in that video, but I was planning to make the follow-up on my 20th. That was over a week ago now, so I'm getting to this video pretty late. And next year we'll finish it off with 2018 to 2023. Also, if you've been on the channel for a while, you know I recently started doing these green screens, and now I'm trying something else today, and you'll see what I mean in a second. So, let's not waste any time and get into my favorite movies from 2011 to 2017.
Only I can live forever.
The finale to one of the most successful franchises in cinematic history, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, while it may not be my absolute favorite of the franchise, if you saw my 2003-2010 video, you know that my favorite is The Goblet of Fire, I still think this is a damn fun movie. It's essentially 1-2 hour final battle, and I'm totally okay with that. This one doesn't need a very long, because this is similar to something that you see out of something like The Avengers, where it doesn't need a long, complicated story, because we already had a bunch of films telling the other longer, complicated stories to simply build up for this finale. It was a satisfying conclusion for both fans of the books, fans of the movies, and even just general viewers in general. 2011 didn't really have that many, absolutely outstanding movies that I saw. Hell, the runner-up for this was The Muppets, so that kind of tells you all you need to know. But this was still a damn fun movie. The film that got a shitload of bandwagon fans after the success of No Way Home. Clearly, I am not one of them. This was my first episode of Diamonds in the Rough, for God's sake, and that was over a year before No Way Home came out. Andrew Garfield is and always will be my Spider-Man. The Lizard is still my favorite Spider-Man movie villain. I like how this takes a more realistic approach to the character. It brings it back to its comic book roots after, shall we say, Spider-Man 3 shit the bed quite badly. Let's just leave it at that. I have a whole video on that movie. And I like all the side characters. Every character feels like they get an arc, even if they're not at the forefront of the story. Captain Stacy, Flash Thompson, Aunt May, even Uncle Ben actually gets more character than he did in the original. This one is still easily my favorite Spider-Man film, and I don't see it being surpassed anytime soon.
Look out! Mercy!
If you've been on this channel for any amount of time, you just had to know it was going to be Percy Jackson's Sea of Monsters. I've talked about the first movie to a large extent on this channel, with it being on the 2003 to 2010s list, as well as having its own episode of Diamonds in the Rough, and this movie will be getting one of those soon, I promise. And I'm going to be perfectly honest, I like this one even more than the first movie. It's the same story as the novel, but making a lot of changes to make it feel fresh and being its own story, the kinds of adaptations that I like. I don't want a one-to-one adaptation of the novel. The effects don't look as good as the first movie, but the creature designs are still fantastic. The action sequences are a lot of fun. Everyone's outstanding in the acting department, except for Jake Abel as Luke, but we all know this by this point. And while I don't particularly care for the Kronos scene, everything else in the movie to me just works. And especially the newcomers with Douglas Smith as Tyson, Levin Rabin as Clarice, and Stanley Tucci as Dionysus really being standouts. I'm never going to not like this movie. I don't care how many crybabies of the TV show come at me. This will be my favorite movie of 2013. Doesn't really help it didn't have a lot of competition, but this was going to be the top. This was going to make the list no matter what.
They call themselves the Guardians of the Galaxy. This might not be the best idea.
Quite possibly the biggest cinematic risk of the 21st century paid off in a big way. This is still one of the best MCU films, featuring a star-studded cast, an amazing soundtrack that is probably also one of the best of the 21st century, outstanding visual effects, and some comedy that just blew me away. This movie blew me away when I saw it in the theater, because I didn't expect this to be I didn't expect it to be bad, but I did not expect it to be great. This is something similar that happened with the first Ant-Man. I didn't expect much, but I got a lot out of this movie. The second one was, while it wasn't, I don't think it's as good as the first movie, is pretty much on the same level, and I am really looking forward to the third film that comes out this May.
There are no strings on me.
Easily the most mistreated film in the entire catalog of the MCU. I don't know why this one got so much hate when it first came out. It seems like people are coming around on it now. But I don't understand why so many people didn't like this film when it first came out. I personally think Ultron is a fantastic villain. I know people complain that he wasn't as dark as he was in the trailers, but to me it seemed like he was intentionally... They made him jokey intentionally because he was mirroring Tony's personality, so I thought that worked outstandingly. Of course, the cast is all great, the effects look great, the action sequences are fun, and with a nice introduction of the Hulkbuster armor, and we get the introduction to Wanda and Pietro, and I wish they'd kept Pietro. Contrary to what other people say, I liked Aaron Taylor-Johnson as Quicksilver, and I wish they'd kept him around a bit more, and we got some nice build-up for Civil War. I'm gonna say something that a lot of people are gonna hate me for, but I don't care. I like this one more than the first one. What can I say? No strings on me.
But he's my friend. So was I.
Not only is Captain America Civil War the best movie of 2016 for me, it's one of my favorite comic book movies of all time, and might actually be up there with some of my favorite movies of all time. I'm a huge fan of this movie. Ever since it came out in theaters, I've seen it so many times. It's probably top 3 MCU for me. The performances are outstanding. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse with that because everything with the MCU is going to involve great performances, but I love the conflict. That's the big selling point of this movie, was Team Cap and Team Iron Man. And what made this movie so good is that you could get behind either side. It was a well-written conflict because no one was inherently wrong. And I love movies that can pull that off. And it was a great introduction to characters like Black Panther. Unfortunately, he didn't last very long in the MCU. Rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. And Tom Holland's Spider-Man, who had to grow on me, but he did grow on me eventually. And No Way Home especially helped with that. Steve Rogers and Tony Stark are at the forefront of this movie, with Sebastian Stan's Winter Soldier also at the forefront, and I love that because they've never really been that close of friends, so the fact that they're butting heads doesn't feel forced, unlike something like Batman v Superman, where they don't even know each other and they're fighting and we don't really know why. This is what Batman v Superman should have been and could have been with a better director, and this was the big push for Infinity War that came out a couple years later.
Feel it.
You still have time.
I wonder how many of you were expecting Thor Ragnarok or Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 to be here. Gotcha. Easily the best of the X-Men movies, Logan was, for all intents and purposes, what should have been the finale to this franchise. It's a perfect closer to their main character, Wolverine, as well as Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier. Of course, they had to go screw that up with Dark Phoenix, and we'll see what they do with Deadpool 3. I have hope, but I'm kinda nervous. This is much more akin to a Western than your average superhero movie or even the other X-Men films, and it's a very deep dive into the human side of Wolverine, something we haven't really got, even though, again, he's essentially been the main character of this franchise. Like I said, this is easily the best of the X-Men movies, and it's not even close. Well, there you have it. My favorite movies from 2011 to 2017. And yes, I'm aware it was 2 young adult films and then the rest were Marvel films. Nothing I can do about it. And in the next video, well, whether or not it'll be the next video or not. I might have a review in between these. But next time we'll get to the worst movie of 2011 to 2017. And trust me when I say that will be a much longer video. So, that's all I got this time. I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.